I'd like to call the 16th session of the Hawaii County Council Committee on Planning to order. Today is September 17th. It is approximately 11:18. We're here at the council chambers in Hilo. Please turn cell phones, pagers, and other mobile communications devices off or on silent. I'll start by introducing the members of the committee present today. To my far left is Ms. Ford. Mr. Onishi will be joining us. Ms. Willie, Ms. Poindexter, Mr. Yoshimoto, Ms. Eoff, Mr. Kanuha. To my right, Mr. Ilagan. I'm Zendo Kern, the chair. First, we'll start by taking statements from the public on items on the agenda. Right before we get into that, though, we were supposed to start at 10:30. We're going to break for lunch at 12, so we have about 40 minutes. I wanted just to touch base with the council on what we should do here. We have the committee on agriculture, water, and energy sustainability starting at 1:30. I know that there's a few a few bills on the planning committee that I think we'll probably get into some discussion. So I don't think, just my personal opinion is, I don't think we're going to be able to get through that before lunch. Ms. Ford, are you willing to push that committee later? I know that we're probably going to have people coming in to testify on that.
Sure.
Sorry, Ms. Ford, sorry, it's your bill, but Ms. Willie.
No, I'm afraid this is, if there's
on microphone.
Please, Mike.
If there's a brief, I'd rather cut into our lunch period and somehow get through.
Even if we get into our lunch period, I don't think we're actually going to get it done. I would cut into the lunch period by, 15, 20, 30 minutes if we were actually going to get this completed. There's the Pahoa project, as well as the university.
Yeah.
Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I'm afraid to cut into the lunch period because when the 1:31 happens, we're not going to have a lunch period. That means we will have no lunch today. So I would like to suggest that we would break for lunch, continue with the planning committee, and then push your ag one a little further into the day, because we might be here all night.
Okay. Can we say that we start ag by 2? Start by 2.
We can certainly try.
Well,
And
that's what I'm saying. If we don't, then we have.
Then we just have to recess this to the following committee day. And a question for your committee: are you going to be going as late, or are you going to be stopping
I'm going to be
5 or
going.
6?
We are not going to stop.
Okay. Very good. Then
I will consult if overwhelming feeling from the rest of you says do something else. I'm obviously going to listen to that. But my inclination is that we work through this today.
Okay, then we'll go as far as we can go. We'll break for lunch at 12, or reconvene at 1:30 with planning and go to 2 and just get as much done as we can get done.
And do you want to break for lunch, go till 12:30, and then break for lunch at 12:30 instead?
How does the other, if we're going to be here late, I think we should be able to have that time to go out there and get a meal. Once we go out for lunch, time runs out really fast.
I meant break for lunch from 12:30 to 2, and therefore give you the extra half an hour right now, so maybe we can get through more so people don't have to wait for that hour and a half to come back.
Ms. Poindexter?
I don't think that would be wise, because you already published that, you're starting at 1:30, so you don't want to set a time, say 2 o'clock now is a new time. It's just letting there is an overrun. I think that would be wiser.
Yeah, we're just going to go to 12. We'll break at 12 as we normally do. Everybody can get their hour and a half lunch. Mr. Onishi, do you have a comment?
Yeah. I would think, looking at the 3 issues that we have on agenda, I think we should finish them within an hour.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then we should be able, if we get started right now, we should be able to come back at 1:30 and finish by 2, and then we can continue on with the next committee. So I don't want to, we're already short on time, so let's just move forward with that. Statements from the public are limited to 3 minutes. At 2.5 minutes, you will hear a sound, and I'll ask you to please summarize. At 3 minutes, I'll ask you to please stop. At that time, you will need to stop. Checking out other outer locations. Do we have any testifiers in Kona?
Good morning, Chair. No testifiers in Kona for your committee. Thank you.
Waimea?
Good morning, Chair. We do not have any testifiers for your committee today.
Thank you. And Ka'u?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We do not have any testifiers for your committee right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And here in Gila, we have 3 testifiers. I'll call up the first 2 testifiers. Mark Henshaw to support Bill number 119 and 120. Please come up. And Mr. John Olson to support Bill 119 and 120. Please, press the, there you go, microphone's on. Move the mic nice and close to you and give us your name and you may begin.
My name is Mark Henshaw. I'm the chair of the Pahoa Regional Town Center Steering Committee, and I am here to give our recommendation for the project to be moving forward. That's all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Olson?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the council.
Please give us your name.
My name is John Olson. I'm wearing 2 hats here today. One of them is as a member of the Pahoa Regional Town Center Planning Committee as a member. The other hat I have on is that of the chair of Puna Traffic Safety. I am supporting, obviously, these boundary amendments and zoning changes. If I put on my Puna Traffic Safety hat, the concerns that we have there, let me make it clear, should in no way, shape, or form do anything to delay this moving forward. The problems that traffic safety has revolve around the requirements and the things that the State Department of Transportation want done. The Puna community has a long and contentious history with the State Department of Transportation, going back to the iteration in the early 90s of their redo of Highway 130, where they built us the most unsafe highway in the state. All 6 intersections.
Excuse me, we do not at this time allow anybody to take pictures from up on this side anymore. It's been a policy that's been in place for a little while. Sorry, Mr. Olson, continue.
Sure. After in the process of replanning Highway 130, the Pahoa process, we did finally get the state to agree to construct a roundabout, which they decided they were going to do first at what is normally referred to by us as the Malama Market intersection. Again, one of the most dangerous intersections in the state. Now, they have determined that they are going to delay that based upon this development and their requirement to signalize the intersection of Kahakai and Old Government Road through Pahoa Town. Our concern is that putting a signalized intersection so close to the roundabout is going to damage the function of the roundabout. In other words, the signalization could conceivably back traffic up into the roundabout on the highway.
Please summarize.
That's our concern. I could go on quite a long time on this, but I hope you move this forward, and I can only tell you that this is our problem with the state, and we're prepared to deal with the state. By the time this project gets built, there will be a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next testifier, Tiffany Edwards Hunt, to comment on 119 and 120. Just turn the microphone on and give us your name and you may begin.
Good morning, council members. My name is Tiffany Edwards Hunt. I am here today to comment on Bills 119 and 120. Let the record reflect, I do not oppose this proposed shopping center development, but I do have a couple of concerns. First, I am concerned about the creation of a new Pahoa at the end of town, resulting in the death of a historic village. Sorry. Please read Pahoa yesterday if you have any doubt about the virtue of Pahoa and its need for preservation. One possible mitigator is signage that Kuahara LLC can set aside space for, encouraging travelers to continue on Pahoa Village Road to the historic village. I also would hope that with the extension of Kahakai Boulevard as a condition of this development, groundwork should be laid for a Mauka Connector Road to Dump Road, which runs parallel to Pahoa Village Road. My second concern is that you, as a council, are going to allow yet another development near an intersection that is considered the most dangerous, even the most deadliest in the state. I honestly cannot believe we are here today considering yet another development before the state has installed either a stoplight or a roundabout. Where is Jiro Samada, who some of you might remember came before this body when Woodland Center was being proposed and promised the completion of the intersection with Highway 130 and Pahoa Village Road as a condition of that development to occur? Well, it's built, and there has been enough time that has passed for businesses to come and go at Woodland Center, and we have no intersection improvements, and certainly no shortage of car crashes that occur at that intersection. I have crashed my car. I have a friend who lost his leg in a car crash at that intersection. This is a real problem, and I promise you, it will only get worse if all this development is to go forward without the intersection improvements to be made beforehand. The commonality of Woodland Center and the Kuahara's Bryson Center's development is that John McElvaney is the developer's consultant for both. Let the record reflect that John McElvaney donated to one of you council members, Zendo Kern. Zendo, I would encourage you to do what is Pono and recuse yourself from voting on Bills 119 and 120 for the appearance of any impropriety to be avoided. I would like to donate to the County of Hawaii this sign, which I hope that the Department of Public Works will erect on Pahoa Village Road in the area of this proposed development that is before you today. I can get a cost for you for a donation related to a donation resolution. Hopefully you and Public Works will take this sign. You may say that Highway 130 and Pahoa Village Road are not your kuleana. Don't tell me that when you have taken up GMO, genetically engineered foods, in recent months, and today at 1:30 p.m., you'll be taking up fracking. This is a public safety concern, and this is smart growth. This is smart urban planning. That is your kuleana. Please do what is Pono. Thank you very much. And because nobody is allowed to take any pictures of people in front of the table, which I will put a formal complaint in as a member of the media, because that is inhibiting our ability to do our job, I will take my own picture of myself for publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, no applauses, no cheering, no booing from the audience. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to give testimony on any of the items on the agenda in the Planning Committee? Seeing none, public testimony is now closed. Mr. Clerk, will you please read in Communication 409, Bill 119, and Bill 1.
Communication 409, Bill 119 amends the state land use boundaries maps for the County of Hawaii by changing the district classification from the agricultural to the urban district at Keonepoko Ike Puna, Hawaii, tax map key 1-5-007-006, 069 and 070. Applicant BT Kuahara LLC, approximate area area approximately 9.93 acres, and Bill 120 amends Section 25-8-26 Pahoa Zone Map Article 8, Chapter 25 Zoning Code of the Hawaii County Code 1983-2005 edition by changing the district classification from agricultural 1 acre A-1A to village commercial 10,000 square feet CV-10 at Keonepoko Iki, Puna, Hawaii, covered by tax map key 1-5-007006 0,00069 and 070. Applicant BT Kuahara LLC, area approximately 9.93 acres, from Mayor William P. Kanoy, dated August 21st, 2013, transmitting the above bill with a favorable recommendation from the Windward Planning Commission. The applicant wishes to change the zoning of the property to allow for the development of a commercial center with approximately 104,326 square feet of leasable space.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to approve Bill 119 and Bill 120?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Ms. Poindexter and a second by Mr. Kanuha. Before we begin on this and bring up the application, I'd like to call up Mr. Lincoln Ishida.
Sorry, we need a motion to approve two things at once. Can't have a motion on one item.
Sorry. My bad. We're going to have to make the motion. So they're both ready and we can discuss both of them, but we'll make a separate motion for each one. So will Ms. Poindexter withdraw your motion at this time?
I withdraw the motion.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve Bill 119?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Mr. Kanuha and a second by Mr. Ilagan. Mr. Ishida, there's been a concern raised that I've received a campaign contribution and that I should be potentially recusing myself. Can I please have your legal opinion?
Good morning, everyone. Lincoln Ishida, Corporation Counsel. Mr. Kern had, during the recess, had asked me to take a look at the various code sections and charter provisions and provide the council some information on conflicts of interest as they relate to campaign contributions. First of all, with respect to the Code of Ethics, which is the controlling document in our county regarding conflicts of interest, there is no per se disqualification or conflict provision by virtue of receiving a campaign contribution. Okay, that's a starting point. Some ethics rules in other jurisdictions provide that the receipt of any type of monetary contribution creates a per se violation or creates a per se conflict. Our code doesn't have that, doesn't take that step, doesn't make that finding. If you look at, so that being said, you actually have a rule, your council rules governing disclosures of interest, and that's found under your rule number 11. Okay? And what that says, in short, is anytime any council member has a substantial financial and or personal interest, direct or indirect, of any action proposed or pending before the council, then full disclosure is necessary. You know, that begs the question, well, what is a substantial financial interest? There is a definition in your rules that says substantial means an interest which is sufficient in magnitude to influence one's official action. So what that does, as it relates to, let's say that we're talking about a situation involving campaign contributions, then that requires a factual determination or inquiry. What kind of contribution are we talking about? You know, is it, your $25 variety? Is it the maximum? I think it's, for council races, what is it, 4,000? 2,000 is your, 2,000 per person, per election cycle, right? I think the 4,000 is for countywide races, right? Mayor and prosecutor, I think. Yeah. So I think those are the kinds of questions that need to be looked at. So, Mr. Kern, you mind if I share with the council what I shared to you?
Please do.
Yeah. So what I encourage Mr. Kern to do, and I would encourage all council members, and I think I have said this in the past, Rule 11 requires disclosure only under those circumstances. But to take the high road, just make the disclosure, even if, we're talking your non-$2,000 disclosure. You don't have to, but since if you ask me, just make the disclosure on the record, per your rules, and, move forward, move forward from there. And at that point, after that disclosure is made and maybe some discussion will ensue, then I think because in addition to the person involved, in this case, Mr. Kern, being comfortable, frankly, I think the rest of the council members have a right also to feel comfortable that, any fellow council member is void of any conflict before voting on any matter. So, that's what I would recommend in this case, and I think that's pretty much consistent with whenever this has come up in the past. That's consistent with what we've advised the council to do. So, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns that any council member has.
Thank you, Mr. Shida. Do any of the fellow committee members have any questions? Mr. Shida, Ms. Ford?
Are you going to make disclosure?
I will, yes. Ms. Willie?
Okay, it's what you referred to the term substantial amount. I just wondered what substantial amount means, or is there any sort of opinion about that? I mean, I would think if somebody signs a petition for public funding for $5, it's not. What if it is $1,000, or just what is?
Miss Willie, I was so happy you asked me that question.
Okay, I'd like to make you happy, Lincoln.
Yeah, because I was prepared to throw it right back at you to say you passed this rule. Mm-hmm. You folks adopted this rule, and there is no definition other than what I read. But I think your instincts are correct, because I think we agree on that. It is a factual determination, and obviously, if you're at the 2,000 end, I think you're closer to it being a substantial interest, versus if you're at the $5 end, you're not. That's just commonsensical. But
I just didn't know whether there were any cases or OIP or any
OIP,
council background. Has this come up and people said, okay, if it's 500 or more, let's just recuse ourselves, or so I'm just trying to look at the history.
Yeah. If not in my personal recollection, maybe the long-timers like Mr. Ishimoto, Mr. Onishi, and Ms. Ford may have a recollection, but I don't recall any benchmark figures being used, at least in the past decade or so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Ford, would you like to make a comment?
To the best of my recollection, I believe Mr. Ikeda once disclosed, or was disclosed about Mr. Ikeda, that he'd received, I think, $200 donation, and he said that his vote could not be purchased for $200. That's the only recollection that I have of anyone being disclosing any particular thing.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. So on that note, for the sake of full transparency, which I absolutely believe in, Mr. John McElvaney did make a contribution earlier on in my campaign of about, I believe it was about $200. To me, that would not signify a substantial amount when it's 10% of the maximum that would be allowed. There's no amount of money that could buy my vote. I think if we get into this where anybody that comes in has something to do with a project or an application, we have to do that on that level. If it's $2,000, that's a different story. I don't think I would be able to serve, none of us would be able to serve our communities if we had to recuse ourselves at every time this happened on a smaller amount. Again, if it's $1,000, and maybe we should have a dialogue at some point to understand what that benchmark is. But again, 10% of what the maximum contribution would be would not do that. So to me, I think disclosing it is good. Full transparency is good. I will be chairing this, so I'm not going to have the same discussion that other council members will. And to recuse myself right now, I think would be an absolute disservice to my community and the community I represent. And this project is in District 5. So I feel it incumbent upon me to participate and be able to vote on this application. Is there any fellow council members that object? Seeing none, then I will be participating. It has been disclosed, and I do not see any conflict. I do not have any connection whatsoever with this project in any way.
Someone have a microphone on someplace where that interference
that
is
keeps
coming
happening.
In? One of the other sites.
Mr. Shida, thank you very much. Yeah, Fortune and Ka'u, would you please check your mic to make sure that mic is turned off? Okay, it is turned off, I guess, from this side. Okay, can we please have the applicant and representative come forward? Give us your name. If you're both going to be speaking, both give us. Okay, Mr. McIlvaney, please give us your name for the record. Turn your microphone on.
Yes, my name is John McIlvaney. I'm from Volcano Village. I am the consultant for Bryson BT Kuahara, and that's about it.
Very good. So before we get into discussion, is there anything that you'd like to add right now, or we can just get into discussion and the committee members can ask you questions as we go along?
Should I comment about the donation? No.
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Ford?
Point of order. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
We have asked the public not to step forward of the public side of the table, and we have somebody down here taking pictures, and we made Ms. Hunt not take pictures, and so I think this gentleman needs to go back. And I apologize, but we're trying to enforce this rule because some of our people that testify and some of our applicants are very intimidated by having somebody taking their picture, and it disrupts the flow. So I'm going to ask the chair to deal with this.
Yes, Mr. Smith, could you, sorry about that, but would you please move to that line and try to get your photos from that line?
Where's the line?
Take a picture of somebody's profile and not show their face.
I am not, the way that I understand it is this is our rules. And so I'm just following the rules. It's nothing.
What is the rule? Just so we bring that
we can take a 5-minute recess
Yes.
and get this sorted out. Thank you.
Before they start speaking, once you speak, maybe we go to, well, let's see what they come up with. That's why I asked what rule there is, so let's see what. Once you're speaking and then things are happening, maybe we'll say hold your place, smile.
I understand.
What if you say, take a picture before this starts?
Next meeting we have a yellow line. They all know they're going to be on television. I mean,
Okay, calling the planning committee meeting back to order. Okay, so what it was, we've been having a policy of this. Some people get uncomfortable with that. It's not an actual rule. We've talked about it briefly, and my feeling is that if the person is not being, if they're down low, not being obnoxious in any way, they should be able to come in. If they're members of the press, should be able to come in and take pictures of this way, or members of the public. And so on that note, I have to apologize to Ms. Hunt for earlier. That was coming in there. In the future, when this does happen during my committee, if you could just stay down low, come in, be quick, and get back out, there won't be any problem. If the person that's taking pictures becomes obnoxious or is actually doing something to distract the people at the table or to distract the council, I will then ask them to please remove themselves from that area. So that'll be the policy that we have right now. Other chairs may do it in a different way. So with that, Mr. McElvaney, turn your microphone on. Your microphone.
Can we just move on with the discussion?
I'd just like to, agree with one of the testifiers, and that was Tiffany Hunt, especially when development happens in an area and there are conditions that are tied to public safety. And I'd like to see those special conditions be completed prior to the opening of any development. And I'd like to see if there could be a condition that says, on the condition saying that, if it's a public safety issue, the development needs to address the special condition prior to opening, not saying that you can't work on the development until that is completed, but you can work on it simultaneously, because I agree, when it comes to public safety, it's critical, because lives are lost. I've experienced that in my own life with a loss. So I know how critical it is when public safety on roads. So that's, and I'll yield at that point, but if you want to address that, I'd appreciate it.
Probably the first consideration that we had when we started this project was the health and safety of all the residents. And the first concern was the roadways. That was our number one concern, and the crosswalks and the sidewalks. And I think we've addressed that, maybe even over-addressed that. As far as allowing the center to open before the roadway is done is not going to happen, because it is a requirement already in the recommendations from the Planning Commission and the Planning Department that we will not get occupancy until the roundabout is complete. So I think that's what the concern is, and we're fine with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Mr. Kanuha?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I read that earlier on about the occupancy not being before the actual roundabout was completed. So I was really happy with that, and I'm sure that satisfies what Ms. Hunt said earlier, her concern. Also, I kind of wanted to bring up about, also what she said, the actual feel of the town village. The Pahoa village, maybe have a sign saying, continuing further, is our village. That doesn't seem too out of
we really support Old Pahoa Town. And the idea of coming a mile away from Pahoa Town to do this project, it was mainly based upon how do we get the services that people need out here, 45,000 people, which Pahoa Village cannot serve. So moving it out a mile and then building it to appear and look like Old Pahoa Town, following the architectural guidelines of the steering committee, which we've agreed to right from the beginning, and we actually are working with them in even moving buildings. I think will satisfy the sense of place that we're looking for, and maybe it'll be a sense of place, a better sense of place somewhat. But we support Pahoa Village, and anything we can do, it's kind of a critical thing Pahoa Village faces, infrastructure problems, parking problems that have to be addressed before that little village can really take off. But we will be supporting every one of those ideas as we move forward.
Thank you. Personally, for me, I was in favor of this, but I definitely wanted to hear, from our Puna council members before I said anything more. So
we even thought of having some kind of a open air bus that would take people from our complex into Pahoa Village. If that's a possibility, that'd be great. So people could move back and forth.
Open air is in,
like in Ala Moana, the buses that you can hop on and move on and come back.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Kanuha. Mr. Ilagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to call up Mr. Ron Theo and also Mr. Mark Henshaw. There's two concerns that...
Gentlemen, if you could have a seat for a minute while Mr. Ilagan asks these gentlemen questions.
There's two concerns that I was hearing. One is the traffic issue, and also the design and the preservation of Old Pahoa. And I want to ask Mr. Ron Theo some general traffic concerns that you may have with this project. As I'm reading the proposal, I feel like, the requirements have been met as I'm reading it, but I don't have the expertise as you have, Mr. Theo. Could you please shed some light on this?
Please start by stating your name for the record in your department.
I'm Ron Theo, Chief of the Traffic Division. I'm trying to figure out how far back I need to go to address this issue.
Well, Mr. Ron Theo, could you start with some of the concerns that was brought before the council?
Well, when we were first looking, I'm going to talk about the roundabout at this point and then move to the project. But when our traffic division was looking at the roundabout that the state was proposing, the original detour plan during the construction of the roundabout did not include any type of traffic control at this intersection of Kahakai Boulevard and Pahoa. And that was a concern of mine. And I brought it up, and the consultant proposed to use traffic security officers during the peak hours. And that was still a concern of mine. And I said, if you're going to have problems with traffic at that intersection during the detour, because they were going to be detouring all of the traffic on highway through Kahakai Boulevard and Pahoa Road. And so after a lot of discussion, it was finally worked out that there will be a temporary signal at this intersection during the construction of the roundabout. Then we started talking about the shopping center, and the shopping center requirements of installing a signal. And it didn't make sense for the state to put in a temporary signal, then take it out, and then have the shopping center put in a permanent signal. So things were worked out between the county, the state, and the developer to for the developer to install a permanent signal before the roundabout is built and before the shopping center is built. All this delays of the roundabout that I'm hearing about aren't necessarily centered around this signal. There are other issues, other land issues and other permits and things like that that have been delaying the roundabout. But the whole idea is to address the traffic before construction starts on either the development or the roundabout. So the signal needs to go in first.
Thank you. Mr. Henshaw, there were concerns about this project diminishing the preservation of Old Pahoa. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because you're part of the design district committee and you've been really involved in the preservation of Pahoa town. So I wanted to get your thoughts.
Thank you. Since almost the outset of us learning about Kuhara project, we've been working with John McElvaney. Actually, Charlie Moss is our head of our design subcommittee. And he and John have met several times working within the emerging guidelines that we're about to actually bring in front of this body for a vote into ordinance. And we've had nothing but full cooperation from John McElvaney and Bryson. Actually, Bryson gave us a personal tour of his property about a month ago, something like that. Yeah, so we've had nothing but great cooperation from them. Again, our greater concern is the traffic. There's so many people that'll be coming into this area. We have 50, 60,000 properties, and there's a lot of traffic that's going to be coming to Pahoa in the next 10, 20, 30 years. We encourage development. We appreciate their assistance in the historic preservation, and I think you'll see a lot of the old plantation-style look in their shopping center.
Thank you, Mr. Henshaw.
You're
and
welcome.
Those are my questions, gentlemen. Thank you for your answers. I do want to say, I do want to state my stand on this issue, and I am in favor of this project. I would like to see this project go underway. One of the pressing things that I really like about this project is more medical facilities to Pahoa. Medical services is really hard in Pahoa. We would have to travel to Hilo, and I'm so glad that there's going to be clinics in place in this project. With that, there are other questions that the council has, and I know we're short out of time, so I'm going to yield at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. So at this time, we're going to recess for lunch, as I said that we were going to do.
Can I ask one question before you go to lunch?
No, because Ms. Ford's actually in front of you on the line. So Ms. Ford will begin after this, and then Ms. Willie. My feeling is that we're only going to be able to hopefully get through this project, this bill. Looking like the other two, the communication 410 and 411, will not be discussing today. So I'm going to just let the applicants or anybody in the audience know who's here for those, that we're just not going to get into that. We're going to try to get done with this project. We're going to end up recessing those to our following committee in 2 weeks. So with that, we'll see you back here at 1:30. We're at lunch.